Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome to the first episode of Bashing the Bash. And so for this one, we're going to make basically a shortcut script for changing directories. So instead of doing stuff like cd, your home directory, then scripts and stuff like that, you can now do cs and then just scripts, or s, and it goes into your script directory. If you want to go to your git directory, for example, G, then if you want to go to your movies or something, for example, and then to see all the key bindings, you could just, or all the shortcuts, you could just do CSH, and then there they are. This also supports saving path. So for example, if we're in movies now, we can go into let's say new series, and then I don't know, Batwoman or something. And then we can do cs and then pp to set this as our temporary directory. So if we do cs now h, we can see it at the bottom here that it's saved as a temporary directory. And now if we want to go into, say, back to our home directory, but then, oh no, we just want to go back, you could do csp, and then you'll be right back where you are. And this also works as like normal cd, so you can do cs ... to go back, for example. And so yeah, if you're interested in if you're not really interested in the bash tutorial, I'll have a link for this complete script down in the comments below. So I'll switch over to the Ubuntu virtual machine now, and we can go ahead and create a new file. So we'll call it cs.sh. Open that up. Inside your text editor, you can use whatever you want. I'm just using Vim here. Then for the start, we will this is just to tell the shell what this is. So basically we want to run this script as bash. So this will let the shell know that we want to run as bash, basically. So then make the script executable by using chmod +x, then cs.sh. So the whole idea of the script is you run the script and then you pass, say, s, for example. If it finds s here, or g, for example, then it'll change to different paths. So what these are actually command line arguments. And to view the command line arguments, you basically do this. So command line arguments are stored inside a variable called that. So the $1, and then second command line argument will be $2, and then the script name is actually stored in S0. So if we want to look at those, we can use a program called echo. Now what echo does is, I'll just open up a new terminal here. So what echo does is it just displays whatever you want. So like hello, it just echoes back. And you can also use it to show variables, for example. Now a variable is basically just a placeholder for data, so you can just have like anything you want and then assign it to equal sign, and then you can put whatever you want in here. So this will be, we created a variable by name of hello, and inside this variable we store like a hello string. You can also store numbers inside here, for example, and it's the same thing. And then if you want to look at the variable, for example, you use echo in the same way as above, but you need the $, because if you don't use the $, and you just put in echo value, it will just print out value, like just echo the value. So you'll need this the $, and then once we get $, you have 1 to 3, since that is the last thing we assigned. We can also assign hello, for example, or something, and then echo the value again, and that is hello. So yeah, that's basically what a variable is. And to get the command line arguments, we can access them through this. So the first one will be the script name. And then the second one would be argument 1. This one, and then so on, so on. You can have as many of these as you want. I don't think there's a limit. There might be. I'll just do this. It's 2. And then if you want to view all arguments, you can do S and then with the @ symbol. So if we save this, and then we launch CS, and we put in like a few arguments, we can do like 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you can see, the script name, which was S1. So if I go back in here, so as you can see, the script name S or the $0 that printed out here, and the script name that we run is here. And then argument 1 is 1, which is what we typed after. Argument 2 is 2, and then argument 3 we didn't display it here, but it is displayed here when we echo every single argument. And so there they are. And arguments are basically separated by spaces. So for example, you could have 1, and then you could have like number 2, then you can have like some characters or whatever, and as long as you don't have a space, you will see that. Well, I'll make this a little bit clearer. So as you can see that as long as you don't have a space, it counts as argument 2. So what we need, since all we're doing is CS, for example, S to go to script, or I mean CS then S to go to script, for example, we just need argument 1 and nothing else. So we can get rid of this one, and then we don't need the rest. So all we need is actually just $1 argument. And so now we need to compare this argument. If it is like S, for example, then we go to somewhere, go to our scripts folder, for example. And if it is G, we go to like our GitHub folder or something like that. So how do we compare those? Well, you basically use an if statement. Now I'll just type this out and then explain to you later. So if statement has the if, and then it has the 2 square brackets. Now it is important to have a spaces here, for example. And so we will do S1, and then we want to see if it equals, for example, S. And if it does, then what we want to do is we want to say echo, then it is S. So if the first argument is the letter S, then this statement will be true. And then to close off the if statement, you need to do fi, basically the opposite of if, to open it and then close it. So if we save this, and I go back here and we run the script again, and S, and as you can see, it is S. But if we do something like G, nothing shows up, because once it goes in here, it checks if it is S, but since it was G, it won't execute this. It will just keep on going. But since there's nothing else after this, then nothing else happens. Now we could do, for example, if it is S, and then else, echo it is not s. So what this will do is it'll check if the first argument is s, but if it is not, then it will run it is not s. And this will work for g, for example. It is not s, it'll work for anything. You can even type like words or whatever. So as you can see, it is not s. But how do we check if it is g? Well, we could repeat. I'll actually just delete this for now. So we could repeat this, for example. We could do it for if g, then it is g. And if we run this again, as you can see, it works for s, it'll work for g, and if you have something else like d, nothing will show up. Now this is perfectly fine to do it, but there is a more efficient way to do it with an if-else statement. So what this is, it is actually takes the place of else. So remember we had else here before, but we will replace, instead of else, we'll replace it with if, which is basically else if you know if you're familiar with other programming languages. And this will be the same as the first statement basically. So we can do g, and then we also need then. So if it is s, go here, or if it is not here, try this one, and then if it is this one, then we can echo it is g. And then you don't need another fi to close this off, because this is essentially all kind of one block statement, but you're just extending it with elif and comparing if it is g. So if we go back here, we can do if s, it is s, g, it is g, and if we do something else, it is that. Now you can actually add, to catch anything else basically, you can add another else statement in here. Then you can just echo it is not s or g, for example. So save that. So now if we do s, run the script and then d, it is not s or g. And if we run like it is not s or g, and s and g still work. Now, so what if you want to add more? So for example, t to go to your temporary file or something like that. Well, you could simply copy the elif statement. So then you can just change this to t, and then it is t. And then you can keep on going like this. So basically what this is, it checks if it is s or t or g, and if it detects any of those, it does its own thing for them. And then if it is not any of those, then it just does this. So we can see that t works, g works, and s works also. Now, as you can see, this is becoming quite repetitive, so it is not the best way to do it. And since we're only comparing one variable here all the time, we can actually use what is called a case statement. So I will comment these out for now. The hashtag comments out the code. So what this means is the script can't see anything. So for example, if you type in hello after all those, and I run like the script then for S again, as you can see, it doesn't detect this, for example. If this didn't have the hashtag symbol there, it would execute this is it. So yeah, and now I'll show you how to do case statements. So case is actually pretty much the same thing as what we are doing here, but it is a much neater way to do it. So you start off with case and then which variable you want to compare, for example. So in this case, it'll be the first command line argument. Then you type in, and then you do a new line and you type in what you want to compare it against. So in this case, we'll do S again. And then you need to put in a bracket there. And we can echo it is S once more. Then after that, you need to put in two semicolons. And to close, and then, oh yeah, the case statement also needs a default, which is represented by this, by the star. So this is basically the same thing as the else. So anything that's not in here goes into here pretty much. And this will be echo it is not anything useful. And then you need to finish off with these. And to close off the case statement, very similar to the way we close off if statements with fi, we need to close it off with esac. Then save that. And when we run it here again, you can see it is S. And if we do something that we didn't code in, like G for example, it'll show up it is not anything useful. So to add more statements, you simply just copy this. So in Vim, this would be 2yy, and then just go down here and press P. And then change this to, what did we have? Yeah, G. And then it is G. Then we can add another one for T. Oh yeah, and you also need, don't know why this didn't copy. You'll need to close them off with this. And T, it is T. Alright, as you can see, if we go back here again, G shows up, S shows up, T shows up, and if we do anything else, it is not useful. Now, if you want to do, to have like multiple characters, for example, that is possible. You can just do SS, and then it is SS, and don't forget to close off, save, and then we can check if SS works, and it does indeed. It is SS. All right. So you can add by yourself whatever you want here. So I'll just delete this for now. And now what we want to do is actually change into the directory. So for example, the scripts for S, we want to change into the scripts. So in our case, we have the scripts at home non-root scripts. So you can copy that, paste it here. Or if you want to simplify this a little bit, instead of using home and non-root, no root, you can just do this root sign that's beside the escape key. So what this is just basically, if you wanna so if you echo root, for example, it'll show you the same thing. So it'll just basically substitute for that. And this is why you need the / again. So yeah, it'll cd there. And then the git is pretty much the same thing. So cd. Then we had it as git. And then the temp we can do cd tmp, which is this directory here, where your computer stores all its temporary files. And now, if we run this, you will probably notice that it doesn't quite work. So if we go back here and run cs, and if we want to go to our script folder, as you can see, it did run the code here, but we're still inside the git folder. So why is that? And you can see that it actually does work if we run pwd, which is the present working directory. So for example, right now we're inside the git folder. So if we run pwd inside scripts, so scripts, and as you can see, the present directory is the scripts folder, but we are still here. And we can do the same thing with t. So as you can see, the cd did work, but we are still inside temp folder. Now this is because when you run this script, it is essentially running inside another bash shell. Not this bash shell that we're in right now, where we're executing the script from. It is running inside another hidden bash shell, pretty much. So inside the hidden bash shell, it does change directory. It's actually called a subshell, if you're curious. So in order to fix this, we can force the script to run inside this shell that we're using right now. And you can do that by using source and before the script, so source cs, and then if we want to change to the scripts folder, css, and as you can see, we are now inside the scripts folder. So what source does, instead of running this in a subshell like it did before, it basically runs all of these commands in this shell. That is kind of the trick. And another shorter version of source that you'll probably see more often is just a simple dot sign. Yeah, so I was saying a shorter version of source is just a dot sign, which you'll more likely see than the source. So this is exactly the same thing. We end up a scripts folder. So now, how do you add this to bash basically, so you can run it from everywhere? Well, you create a thing called bash alias. So alias is like a shortcut, for example. So if we type ls /ch, for example, to view all of our files, but we don't want to type that all the time and we just want to type ll, for example, well, you can do alias. Yeah, so make sure you surround these with quotes. There you go. And so now you can see that when I type in ll, it runs exactly the same thing as -h. And so the good thing about alias is you can basically point this wherever you want. So in our case, we will use cs as our alias, and we will point it to our home folder, git, and then cs.sh. So this is where our script lies. So you actually need to put in either source here, or just a simple dot, and I'll use the simple dot. So now if we do cst, as you can see, we're now inside the temp folder. And then while inside the temp folder, we can still use cs since it's part of the shell now. So we can go back to our git folder, for example, and now we're inside our git. Now, what you'll notice is if you close your terminal and open a new one, css will no longer work because only the last terminal had it. Now, to make this, to make every terminal pretty much have access to CS, we can create a file called bash aliases. We'll actually make that a hidden file inside our home directory. And so we'll just do the same thing as before. Alias cs equals the dot, and then home directory git, then cs.sh. Alright, and then over here, if you want to add more aliases, you can just do the following. So ll, for example, will be ls /ch. Then once you're done that, save and quit. And then you'll also need to edit your bash rc. Go to the end of the file, and then, oh yeah, they already have it. So if you don't have this, add this in. So you could just save and quit that, and then close this terminal once again, and open up a new one. And now you should have CSG, for example. And we're inside the GitHub folder straight away, CSS. Alright, so now to make this a little bit nicer, we can get rid of the echo since we don't need it. And we don't need to look at the PWD. And then for the match everything else, to make it behave like original CD basically, you can do CD and S1. So what this will do is everything that is not in here, it will just execute as normal CD without the shortcuts, for example. So if I open up a new shell here, and if I do, so let's just go home, and if I look at what I have in here, so if I can just do CS downloads, and this is basically the same thing as doing CD downloads. Well, if I typed it properly, it will work. So to display so like we had inside here, this will just be a simple echo, but I would like to introduce some topics here. So for the help, we can do H, for example. And so help screen. But if you want to have multiple options to go to the help screen, for example, you can do the pipes symbol or just one pipe symbol, and H, for example. So what this means is when it's checking for the first argument, it will check if it's H or if it is H1. And if it is either one of those, then it will go into the help screen. And you can add another one if you want. So you can add as many ors as you like. You can do help, for example. And all of those will result in the help screen. So CSH, H, and help. And obviously stuff like this wouldn't work. So right now what you're seeing is, because it didn't match any of these, it is going to the default case, which in this case is trying to change into the directory. In this case, the directory it's trying to change into is this one, and so it can't basically change into that directory. As you can see, there's an error popping up. This because of the double tags. So if we just got rid of them and try change it to directory called PS, which we don't have, it'll just say no such file or directory, which is fine. Okay, so this has actually gone on for quite a long time. So I'll split this into another part, and in the second part we'll look at functions, how to use colors inside Bash, and just finish off the script in general. And so yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.